You was talking about breaking the cycles, fighting to not pass on the trauma you experienced from your father to your children. So,
Yeah.
when you're reflecting on your childhood, what are some top 2 to 3 memories that kind of haunt you that you never want your children to experience?
Shout out to my pops. My pops passed in 2020,
Mm.
and since he passed, I've had a lot of time to reflect on our relationship. He was really chronically ill for like the last 15 years of his life, and so that last 15 years of his life, he was sober, but he was sick. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but in that period of time with him being sober, I got to know my dad, and I got to have more empathy for my dad because as a child, I still am haunted by images of my dad intoxicated or high, right? And some of the behaviors and the arguments with my mom and name calling and violence, right? And so those are things that I want to shield my son from. Yeah. And so in many ways, I'm grateful for my father because he's a constant reminder, because I remember those things so vividly, even at my son's age, that your kids are always watching you. I don't want to pass on that trauma to them, and in the Dreamers record, I say my dad did his best, you know what I'm saying? And so that's also my acknowledgement that, my dad was a great father when he was sober.
The Highest Point Podcast. More than a pod, it's a lifestyle.
The second part of that is never thought I'd see a day when the junkies are the heroes. And I'm not suggesting that what I'm about to say is positive, but when we were kids, the drug dealer was the hero, right? The person who was at least making something up for themselves, which I realize is not overtly positive. But I never thought I'd see a time where people would brag about taking pills and Xanax and even bragging about taking heroin or fentanyl or and I kind of see it, bro. I get on another song on the album. I say I pray for these kids and I speak at their schools. I spend a lot of time speaking at schools with middle school and high school kids, and I see the impact of that. Right, I see the impact of I'm gonna take a perk 30 today, right? Like a 13-year-old kid being like, yeah, I'm on a perk 30 today, right? Like bragging about using opioids and destroying themselves. And that just troubles me, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to sound like the old guy who's saying back in my day, because I realize that has a certain connotation, but I just would love to see some balance in the music. And I just never thought I'd see a day when the junkies are the heroes.
Yeah, man. So true. So true. Unfortunately, like with the music, man, it popularized things. Like, I didn't even know nothing about no perks and all this stuff until I heard it in tracks. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know what they was even doing those type of things for.
Same, bro. Same.
So, that's why what you're doing is important. You know what I'm saying? Like
Thank you, bro.
To basically be the opposite of that put other people on game of other things and, a different type of way to look at things.
Now,
I heard you mention Gav Beats. Now, did he do anything on this album, on this project?
Yeah, Gav and JD did the whole project, right? So Gav did the push, the intro. That's Gav.
Okay.
And what's dope about Gav, I mean, your audience, if they're in North Carolina, they know Gav, right? Gav one of them ones, man. So Gav did push, and the vocal sample on push is actually Gav singing.
Oh, word.
It's not a sample. Yeah. So in addition to making the music, Gav is singing on it. Same with the Money song, track 9. That's Gav, and that's also him singing on Let's Get This Money and Be Out. And then he also did High Frequency Music, track 3. So yeah, Gav is my guy. Gav and I've been working together for damn near 20 years, man. He knew me when I was a teenager. We in that live band that I talked about, Gav is a part of the band that I tour with and play with. And Gav plays every instrument. He's musical director. He's a performer. Gav killed it on the project, man. We're gonna do more shit together too.
Oh yeah. I mean, shoot, all the songs that you named, I was rocking with. So yeah, Gavin Williams, he doing his thing. Now I'm gonna go to him. Gav. You was feeling yourself in him. This is like one of those ones like you're looking in the mirror, you got your affirmations going like, yo, I'm him.
I'm him. Yeah.
So now you did call out one of our fellow light-skinned brothers, Ben Simmons, on this joint. So I was laughing. I was laughing when you dropped that bar. But
yeah, bro.
Now, but I'm not gonna dig deep on that. I just want to let you know, that jump was funny. Like, if you want to know what I'm talking about, tune in.
Tune in, track 2.
Yeah. And then, but you was talking about artists complaining about radio play. I want to talk about that. Artists complaining, radio don't play them. I don't play the radio either. So what you saying? So can you break that down? What you mean with that?
that's just like, again, man, this whole notion of being popular versus being successful, right? Like what people give like a lot of vanity about, my record is on the radio, but I don't even tap into the radio. So that's not where I go for content. And I don't think that's where my audience goes for content. That's also not how I measure my success. You know what I'm saying? So that's just that little, like, I talked about North Cack and how hard we fought to get in the radio, how proud we were to be on the radio. And it was cool as hell to see North Carolina DJs, big ups to 102 Jams in particular, for supporting that record. But that wasn't what made it successful. What made it successful was, as I mentioned, 50,000 people at the Panther Stadium, like, I know this record. And all my folks who really connect with me sending videos of them hearing it and playing in those environments. And so sometimes we overemphasize radio. And that was just a little shot like, okay, you listen to this album and you like it. Right? Who cares if the radio is playing? Right? Because I want people who want the music to want the music. One of the phenomena that I see, bro, is I've seen people go to a song and then before they decide how they feel about the song, they look at how many views or likes the song got. Right? It's like, like with this podcast, and you do. I've been watching your stuff before we got on. You got a dope podcast, bro. It's quality. The conversations you're having. The content even on your Instagram page, the way it's presented is dope. But someone might be like, man, he ain't got as many views as whatever, so I'm not about to tell people how much I love that. Right? We kind of in a weird space where it's like the more popular something looks, the more popular it becomes. Because a lot of people are afraid to support something that's not on the radio. Right? But that was just my way of saying I don't care about that. And to the audience, like what you like. You know what I mean? Who cares if it's popular? Because the more people who like what they like, the more variety of things will become popular.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that, man. Like the singles people put out, okay, if it's on the radio, someone may brag about a single they got and they compare it to someone else. Like your music not even on the radio, mine is. But it's been so many times I listened to an album where something that wasn't a single, that wasn't on the radio, that's what I actually loved the most, actually had the most value. So because it's on the radio, that doesn't mean that it's valuable.
Facts, bro. We when I was growing up, we would skip the single.
Right.
We wouldn't even go. You know what I mean? We get the album, we'd be like, "Oh, track 3 is the radio joint. I'm off that. I'm moving on to the depth of that artist."
Yeah.
And that's a certain type of listener, and it ain't for everybody, but I think there's a big group of people for whom that's true. So yeah, that resonates with me, bro.
Yeah. I think we got to stop this conditioned mindset of saying like, okay, in order to put a single, we got to dumb it down. Like, why we got to dumb something down?
Right, man. Well, it's a damn shame to even think like that.
Yeah.
I'm just for the record, I'm not dumbing anything down, man. Like at this point, I'm like, hey, you either you get it or you don't. If you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? Because I got to look myself in the mirror too, man. Like what kind of art did I leave the world behind? So that wasn't always the case. Now, when I was younger, I was trying a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying? But now, man, the space I'm in as an artist, I just want to give people something that's meaningful.
Yeah, for sure. So, talking about that a little bit, how do you more so focus on the fans over the streams in a digital era?
I think the approach we take into this album enables us to do that, right? So like you bought the album, you got an email directly from me, right? When you bought the album, right? I'm gonna be one-on-one as much as I can as we scale this thing. James DuBose and I, we talk about building brick by brick, right? Every brick is important. We've got a solid foundation with the music, but now the audience and the supporters are the bricks in what we're building, right? And every single brick is valuable. And we're going to be direct to the fans, exactly that way that I used to do it, right? Before the streaming era, I was at my shows selling CDs direct, hand to hand, selling T-shirts, selling hoodies, hand to hand. Some of those people still follow me to this day. In fact, most of them are still my most loyal supporters.
Dope.
When I said I was dropping this album, there was a couple guys in the comments that I've known since I was battle rapping at 15. And they said, like, instead of a fire emoji, they said, yo, are you selling physical copies? Where can I get a T-shirt? Where can I get a poster? Right. And that is really built off that one moment I had with them shaking their hand and selling them a CD damn near 15 years ago. Right. Yeah. So, or more than that, 20 years ago in some cases. So, that's what we're doing, man. We're doing this really organically. And I want to be clear, we will eventually get to go to some sort of streaming space. right? But it doesn't. We're in no rush to do that, right? We're having a great run so far, and it's all about the people, man. It's not. I don't care if somebody can go to Spotify and tell me how many monthly listeners I have. I'm more interested in people like you who are describing the lyrics and talking about the songs. And man, I'm feeling like I'm a fan of you right now, just hearing the way you break down the music. And that's valuable for me, fam.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate that. And we appreciate what you're doing, man.
Thank you, bro.
And that leads to like the frequency. That goes to your next track. You know what I'm saying? HFM, high frequency music. So I kind of wanted you to explain, okay, what's can you define elevating your frequency? What that mean to you?
Yeah, I think human beings exist. We're all made of energy, right? We're all made of energy. And the frequencies that we vibrate on, right, and the are really driven by the energy that we surround ourselves with, right? I think when you get to a certain level of mastery, you have the ability to define the frequencies, right? So you can even block out some of the negativity. But most of us, right, at most points in our life, are inspired by the frequencies that we take in. And this is just kind of a new thing that I've been learning about, right?
Okay.
This whole notion of like energy and the frequencies that, music has an impact on your energy. It also has an impact on your physical body, right? Like on, just like the food you eat, the music and the frequency that music is at has an impact on your mood, your health, all those things. And so that kind of endeavor was inspired by kind of a weird Kanye interview, if I'm gonna be honest. I remember Kanye talking about the 808, right, and the impact that the 808 has on the human mind and all of that. And I thought, I've had a chance to meet Kanye, be around Kanye a little bit, so I even still tune into him when he's a little bit triggered. You know what I mean? Because I think there's a bit of truth in everything that a person is saying, even when a person might be going through something, right? So I just went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and there's some science behind that. There's some science behind the way that the frequencies of the music we interact with impacts our mood, our physical body, and our behavior. And so we are initially we're going to name this project High Frequency Music, because I told JD, I said, bro, when I do this album, I want to elevate the frequency of the people that are listening. I want to put us on a positive path, an inspiring path. And then halfway through, Andre releases his flute album. Andre 3000 releases the flute album, which everybody talked about on the internet. We were kind of, varying opinions about the flute album. But I learned that he made that flute album, and I think it's a 140 megahertz frequency, the entire album, which is the meditation frequency, right? And so, again, there's science behind this, right? Your brain and your body are responding. And I don't want to lose the audience by getting too deep down that rabbit hole, but in general, we're looking to elevate that frequency, give you something that's going to impact you in a positive way. Yeah. That's the root of what high frequency music is. And before it was Game 7, that was the name of the album, High Frequency Music, right? So when Gav sent me that beat, it just had that, right? It's kind of glaring, it's kind of blaring, it's kind of, the guitars hit you in a certain way, and I'm like, this is high frequency music, man. So we elevating that feeling on the project.
Absolutely. It's kind of odd when you was talking about that, the science behind the frequency is not alone science, it's also biblical. If you think about it, like when they say Satan, one of his most prominent tools that he used was music as something to influence people, as a weapon. But also, if you got high frequency music, you can use that to combat that same type of energy. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, what you're doing when you're creating this type of music at this frequency.
Yeah, man, it's spiritual for sure.
Yeah,
for us, right? You hear me talk about God. All praise is due to the Most High. When we do our music, God is a big part of what we're doing, right? And I believe that, man. And music can be used for evil or it can be used for good.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
So that's facts. Yeah.
All right, bet. So also in there, I want to give a verse. You were saying, unless you're willing to work, your potential is worthless. So what's most important, work ethic or talent?
Yeah, work ethic is most important, and I think you have to have talent. And that was almost like transparently, that's a shot at me, right? That was a shot at me. I've gifted at this, and I'll say that in an arrogant way. This writing raps comes easily to me, right? Anybody that I've ever been around, they're like, damn, bro, you wrote that in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Yes, right. And it's not something that it's from God, right? This is just something that I can do. But there have been periods of time in my life where I leaned on that and thought that was enough. I didn't put the work in. I didn't show up. And I watched people who were less talented exceed my success, right? And that's just a shot at me this go round. Like, bro, unless you're willing to work, your potential is worthless, right? Like, how much, even like think about that Fonte interview, right? And this is just going to be me being outside of rapper ego, just human being.
Yeah.
Fonte and Pooh are sitting there with Math Hoffa talking about Jay Gunn, right? But Fonte and Pooh are at Math Hoffa, Jay Gunn is not at Math Hoffa, right? And whether or not I feel like I might be doper than them, right? Just as a competitive MC, they put in more work than me. That's why they're in that seat, right? And so it is really a way for me to look in the mirror and say, okay, you said you're going to do this time, right? Are you willing to put the work in? And that's just a lesson I learned throughout life, man. There's a lot of people with talent and potential, but if you ain't willing to work, it's worthless.
Yeah, that's fact. And you got to check yourself sometime. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I think that gut punch to yourself is important. So that's fire. That's fire.
Thank you, bro. Yeah, yes, I mean, we all got to do that. We got to be able to do that sometimes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like my favorite album last year was Killer Mike's album, and he's got a song called "I Shed Tears," and he says, "It was me. I'm the reason that I failed." Right? Like, and that hit me. It was like, damn, But so many of us, when we fail, we slip, or we don't reach the height that we want to, we look to somebody else to blame.
Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, all we can do is all we can do. Give it your all, put your work in, and the results will speak for themselves. You know what I mean? So that's that introspection I was in that moment.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. Now let's get into Trouble. I want to get some insight on your son's name. You said you name my son 7 so he can see God in everything. Now, what about you do you feel your son sees as a reflection from God?
Wow. I want to remind my children that, God is in everything, right? Like I believe that God is in us, right? God speaks to us. God is that voice inside of us, even if we don't choose to listen to it, right? I think even in the negative, right? There's God in that moment too, right? There's God trying to speak to you through your trials and tribulations. And my goal is to teach my children that, right?
Yeah.
But another thing that God is love, right? And so I surround my kids and wrap them up in love every single day. Even when my son in particular, he's an interesting personality, right? He's like, if he's angry, he's all the way angry, right? If he's happy, he's all the way happy. He's got extreme emotions at 4 years old, right?
Yeah.
And even when he's going through one of those moments where he's yelling or throwing things, right? I approach him with love, right? And I want him to see that God in that approach, see God in the approach that we teach to, my wife and I take to raising him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And my hope as he gets older is that he's able to recognize the God in the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because no matter what you go through, and no matter what your religious tradition is,
right,
you'll learn that God is always present.
Yeah,
right? Even,
for sure.
God doesn't go away. It's just sometimes difficult for us as humans to perceive God.
Yeah.
And, that's what I want my son to see. So 7, of course, has lots of meanings in the spiritual traditions of the world. It's like the most divine number from the beginning of time, right? Some people say it means completion. Some people say it means perfection. Some people say it means God. Either way, I want my son to see God in everything. And hopefully he sees God. He sees the God in me. You know what I mean? And I'm not suggesting that I am God, right? I don't want anybody to do that, right? But I think God is in all of us and inspires what we do.
Also, I hear you talking about your daughter. You know what I'm saying? You was taking her to school, and you said how falling short is better than falling off. So, how important to you is it to be honest with yourself that there's no perfect child, there's no perfect parent, and how do you, help navigate through situations like that when either you fall short?
Yeah, bro. Again, that was also sometimes as I'm thinking about this, and I didn't even realize I'm speaking to myself as much as I'm speaking to others, right? Like that falling short is better than falling off is like, some things are out of my control, right? So I had an opportunity in 2016 to sign to Republic, which is one of the largest hip hop, which is one of the largest music labels in the world, right?
Yeah.
Drake is on Republic. Weekend is on Republic, right? This is a major fucking label, right?
Right.
And I spent about a year's time with my team preparing for that and expecting that to happen. But they made some changes in personnel at Republic, and I didn't get the deal, right? And so some things are out of my control, right? I can't control it all. God knows best. But what I can control is my effort, right? And to me, falling off is a person just quitting. They just not putting in the effort. They not showing up to do their reps in the gym.
Right.
But falling short is you giving it everything you possibly can, but you don't quite reach that goal, right? And so to me, what I'm informing my children is control what you can control, right? When I drop my babies off in the morning, we do affirmations every single day. And we talk about confidence. We talk about leadership. We talk about integrity. Those are things that you can control, right? Those affirmations give you the confidence. Your behavior gives you the integrity. And you want to be a leader, not a follower. You know what I'm saying? And so that line is about that, teaching them that their effort and the things that they control matter most. Even if you don't win or succeed, be proud that you fell short rather than falling off.
Yeah. Facts. On the Dreamers Anthem, I really love the Dreamers Anthem. It's one of my favorites.
Thank you, bro.
Yes, sir. You was talking about it ain't nothing wrong. Ain't nothing wrong with a regular gig. I had a few. You know that regular gig ain't all God got for you. So can you tell us about an experience you had at a regular job and how you can still continue to pursue your dream while you was working there?
Yeah, I worked in sales for a little while. Actually, I worked in sales at two different things, man. My closest homeboy owns a copier company. He was working at a different copier company at the time. He was making a lot of money. He was doing well. My music was going slow, so I'm like, shit, I'll just come work with you, bro, and sell these copiers.
Yeah.
And I hated that job, just transparently, right? But it enabled me to pay my bills while I was looking for what was next in terms of music, and I was able to. Look, in a sales job, I'm in the car, I'm taking meetings, right? So I would hop on. I remember one time, bro, I was on Angela Yee's show back when she was on Sirius XM on the way to sell a copier, right? I'm sitting in the car on Angela Yee's show, spitting, I was rhyming on the air in the car of my day job, you know what I'm saying? And so I always understand that sometimes a job is a means to an end, you know what I mean? But man, when God plants that purpose in your spirit, it doesn't necessarily mean He's gonna make it easy. And I think there's no shame in working, right? And actually, I'll be even more transparent. There was a time, bro, I was ashamed for people to know I work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, everybody just wants to be like, I'm a rapper on the internet, right? But I lead a chamber of commerce in Illinois now, right? And before that, I worked at a chamber of commerce in Durham, my hometown, and I've had many odd jobs in between there too. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and there's no shame in that, right? It's no shame in providing for yourself and your family until you get where you want to be. And also this music thing, right? We talked about the streaming revenue. There's times when I was really popular and really broke. You know what I'm saying? And so you got, what I think there is shame in sitting back and just waiting for an opportunity to come to you. You got to get up and make something happen every single day. And whether that means driving Uber or whether that means going to work at a job that you hate until you find your purpose or the opportunity, there's no shame in that, man. So I wanted to put that line in there because, again, this album is about me being more authentic than I ever have before. And yeah, bro, like we got to work. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to work. And ain't nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong with working that job.
At all. Just like, that reminded me of when, I don't know if you've seen it, it was a few years ago, but the guy that used to work for the Huxtables on that Cosby show, he was working in some grocery store or something, and someone took a picture of it, and they tried to shame him.
Joe's,
yeah, they tried to shame him for working. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Yeah. This man got a family.
Think about the mentality of that, fam. Like, that is wild. That we would shame somebody for an honest day's work. Right? An honest day's work, right? Like, and thinking about it this way, right? If I were to say I sold dope before I was a rapper, that for some reason is more glamorous than me saying I worked in a copier company before I was a rapper, right? Or even while I was rapping, right? Like, why? That's a weird mentality for us.
It is.
And we got to remove the shame from working.
Yeah.
Like, hey, fam, you provide for yourself and your family. You don't have to look over your shoulder. You're not out in the streets getting chased or dealing with the pitfalls of that particular type of life. And you can go home at night, kiss your babies, and continue to pursue your dreams. Like, we gotta remove the shame from work.
It ain't that more respectful to me, man.
It's a beautiful. That's what it's actually about at the end of the day, man.
Yeah.
And I had to let me tell you another example of that, man. I had to have those experiences being around people that were famous too, right? Like when I mentioned MC Light, right? I was riding around with Light in LA, and Light was about to go. Light's a rapper, right? She's one of the best, greatest rappers ever. You know, certainly the pioneer for women in hip hop.
Yeah.
We were getting ready to go do a cartoon thing that she was doing that day, and then she had to go do a voiceover at the Grammys, and then she had to go. She was writing a book at the time, and she had to go to that thing. Those are jobs. Right? Yeah. She's doing multiple different jobs in between making music, and so those light bulbs started to go off for me. Even my time with Dame Dash, right? Like watching Dame working on his TV stuff, watching Dame. Doing speaking engagements, right? Those are jobs, right? It's not running a record label, which is what people know him for, but there's no shame in doing honest day's work. And in fact, there's more honor in that than anything to me.
Yeah, not at all. I completely agree with that, man. I still work my 9 to 5 right now. I have no shame in that. You know what I'm saying? But
you shouldn't, man.
I built this platform to be something that wasn't available for me because I was an artist too. But here in this area, it wasn't nowhere like really putting on for the people I felt. So like when I went to California to do a show, I went to Houston to do a show. I had media outlets and things like that. But when I'm home, it's not readily available. So I said, you know what, bump it. I'm gonna try to create something to help the people myself that would have been beneficial to me. And I'm still working my job.
I love that. I love that you're doing both, man. And I love that you created this platform. And let's give honor to everybody that's watching this, that's working an honest job, hustling, providing for yourself. You doing God's work and doing that, man, because it's so funny, right? Like rappers be like fucking 9 to 5 in their music, and we all be on our way to our 9 to 5, like, yeah, fuck
that. Right. Yeah, I'm gonna get to a point where I do fire my boss, but I'm gonna grind till I get there. You know what I'm saying?
And listen, bro, nothing's permanent either. I fired my bosses many times, right, when things are up. But I ain't never ashamed to go back if I got to go back and provide for these people who depend on me and be able to invest in my dream, because nobody's coming to save us. We got to save ourselves. And if that means I got to go out there and get it by any means, and I'm going to do that legally, FYI, right? I'm going to go out and do it in a legal way, because my freedom is valuable to me, right? Absolutely. So there's also that element, man. So, hey, big ups to you, bro. Big ups to you, man. I know we've been talking about me, but big ups to you for having me on and doing what you're doing, bro. It's dope.
I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I know we're getting close on time, so I'm going to try to get a couple more in. Something I did want to ask you about on Tuesday. You was talking about breaking the cycles. Fighting to not pass on the trauma you experienced from your father to your children. So, when you're reflecting on your childhood, what are some top 2 to 3 memories that kind of haunt you that you never want your children to experience?
Yeah, man. So, also, man, my shout out to my pops. My pops passed in 2020, and since he passed, I've had a lot of time to reflect on our relationship. My pops also got sick, and he was really chronically ill for like the last 15 years of his life. And so that last 15 years of his life, he was sober, but he was sick. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but in that period of time with him being sober, I got to know my dad, and I got to have more empathy for my dad, because as a child, I still am haunted by images of my dad intoxicated or high, right? And some of the behaviors and the arguments with my mom and the things in our household being thrown or kicked or, name calling and violence, right? And so those are things that I want to shield my son from. You know what I'm saying? And when I wrote that record, I was thinking about my own like drinking, right? And like, I'm really conscious of like, I don't want my kids to see me drunk, right? I don't want my kids to see me drinking. Because I do drink, right? Occasionally recreationally. Yeah. But in the pandemic, it was probably getting a little too much. You know what I'm saying? And so I was thinking about the fact that as much as we try to escape that, sometimes that can creep back into who we are. Yeah. And so in many ways, I'm grateful for my father, because seeing him at that low point is a constant reminder, like, bro, you got to check yourself sometimes, right? And And also a reminder, because I remember those things so vividly, even at my son's age, that your kids are always watching you. You know Absolutely. What I'm saying? And I don't want to pass on that trauma to them, you know. And in the Dreamers record, I say my dad did his best. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
So that's also my acknowledgement that, you know, my dad was a great father when he was sober. You know what I'm saying? And he tried really hard to beat that addiction throughout his life. But at some points it just got the best of him, which sometimes our demons get the best of us. You know what I'm saying? But I want to acknowledge that even though I do carry a lot from those experiences, that I know he did his best. And I'm most grateful for those 15 years of life when he was sober before he passed, even though I still feel like I wish I got to see him healthy, not sick. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so
right.
Also, I think about that, right? Like as I'm getting older, I got to take care of my body so I can be there for my children, right?
Sure.
You know, and so it's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility that comes with being a parent, man. And I don't take any of it for granted.
Yeah, man, for sure. Respect for that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Now on Waiting, you said something again. One of those bars that kind of hit me. I was like, I'm saying he don't even know me. Like, why he talking to me like this?
Why he coming for me?
Right.
like when the pastor talking in church, and you like, how do you know I'm going through that? Yeah.
Yeah, but you said you asked, is there a difference between almost and never? And I'm gonna tell you why that hit me. Because you know, so many times in my life, man, like even when it comes to the music, jobs, even this media space. Like, yo, I done got so close to, you know, something, and then the bottom fall out. Then, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, yo, it was right there, and then everything is gone. Like, it's like you make you feel like all your work and effort was just like for nothing. And then when people try to encourage me, like, yo, you was just so close. I'm like, yo, what the hell is close? You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody remembers second place. So I'm like, I be really beating myself up. So, you know, what I wanted to ask you was, so what do you say to people who feel that way? Like you trying to encourage them, like they're not taking that, like, look, yo, I didn't make it, so it don't even matter.
Yeah. You know what, bro? We got a lot more in common than I even expected today, man. That song. So Weaver, who's the guy on the hook, how long will I be waiting for you? That's him saying that part. You know, the way that I interpreted where he was going with that is how talking to God, right? Like, how long will I be waiting on that moment, right? What I've been fighting for my whole life. And in his verse, he says, we talking 40 days or 40 days and 40 nights or what, right? Like, you know, let me know, God, what I got to go through to get there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But the truth is you don't always know, right? You don't always know what's on the other side. And in the ad-libs at the end, I say the joy is in the journey. Right. And so the journey to me is the reward. And I didn't always feel like that, bro, because like you said, like I described that Republic situation. And when it didn't happen, everybody that was around me, because when you're growing, when you're ascending, you build a big team of people. Right. Everybody that was around me just stopped, except for a few people. Shout out to my man Brown in particular. Who's still with me, my man Ab, who's still with me, my man Laddie, who's still with me. But a lot of other people disappeared. I ain't talked to them since 2016, in some cases, right? And JD is still my producer at the time. He quit music because of that situation, right? Wow. He was like, man, I can't, you know, this we was almost there, but almost is just as good as never because it didn't happen, right? And so I'm going to go pursue other endeavors. And so when we got back together to do this project, it was just a lot of those conversations that inspired this music. But ultimately, I realized that the journey is the reward. Being able to do what we're doing right now, there's a lot of people sitting in their house that wish they could do it. There's a lot of people who wish they did. You know, I've performed all over the globe, right? I've had a chance to do TV shows with Snoop and Jermaine Dupri and Dame and Birdman. And, you know, like I've experienced my dream, maybe just not to the extent that I wanted to. And I believe that I will continue to experience it.
Right.
So a lot of this album, as you see, is really me talking to myself, with the hopes that it will resonate with someone like you, bro. And I know that a lot of other people who like, man, I almost had it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, but there's people watching who appreciate what you're doing already, and just enjoy the journey, man.
Absolutely.
Because The victory is what we're doing right now, man. The rest of the stuff that come with it, the money, the fame, the glory, the trophy, that's just icing on the cake. The victory is doing something you're passionate about and having the gifts and the talent to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I appreciate that game too, man.
Man, it's all love.
And then you ended with, I don't know if that was you talking or not, but it sounded like it was a sermon at the end of that joint.
It is. That's a sermon from a brother named Pastor Ray. And that also, just speaking of how God works, that just came to us, right? James Dubose he's got his TV platform in the Black Network, the streaming network,
right?
And there's a faith-based channel on in the Black Network. Pastor Ray is doing some stuff with him, and he was like, "Man, Waiting was done. The song was done."
Right.
And he was like, "Hey, bro, I was listening to Waiting, and this message just seemed like it fit." And he sent it to me, and I definitely shed a tear. Bro.
Yeah.
That's Pastor Ray.
Yeah, it was super dope, and it really resonated with me too. And just for the people just to hear this, I want the people to hear this while we wrapping up. He was saying, what if what's stopping you is you just won't start?
Yeah.
I know you think you're waiting on God, but what if God is waiting on you? God can't order the steps that you won't start.
Come on, man.
Yo, come on. And me reciting it and you not hearing it with that music is nothing. So you need to go check the album, man. Like, you can really get this feeling, be recharged, just like I was when I had the opportunity to listen. So can you tell the people how they can get to the music again, and also how they can follow and even support you?
Yeah, man. I felt a little spiritual moment when you were saying that. Yeah, man. If what you're hearing today resonates with you, go to even.biz. You can get the album. It's called Game 7. I'm Joshua Gunn. Or you can go directly to my Instagram profile at jgunnisbetter. Gunn is with 2 N's. JGUNN is better. And you'll see the link in my bio. Get the album. It's a pay what you want model. Anything you feel comfortable paying. And we hope it inspires you the way that this inspired both of us. And everyone around me is proud of this project. Shout out to Dubose, Felicia, JD, Gab, Weaver, Chris Hendricks, Pastor Ray, Chris West, Sequence Clark. It's a group effort to make this type of music, man. And shout out to Audio Bombell for mastering it. J Gunn is better on Instagram. Even.biz is the album.
Yeah, definitely dope, man. Y'all definitely tap in. I can't end no better than that. So until next time, you guys hold it down. Don't let it hold you. Peace.
Yeah. Peace.
The Highest Point Podcast.
More than a pod, it's a lifestyle.